students. Welcome to Byju's. Welcome to yet another weekly current affairs session. Now, at this point, I want to ask if my audio is clear and my video is visible to all of you. If yes, you can go on, put up all the thumbs up signs that you have. Yes, perfect. So I'm seeing all your responses over here. Now, again, for those who are attending the session for the first time, the idea of this session is what we do. We take up the important current affairs that have been featured in the past 1 week. Now, these current affairs can be both from a prelims perspective and from a mains perspective. Okay, so for some of the questions or some of the topics, we'll be going in much detail from a mains perspective. And I'll tell you very specifically, this is a mains oriented topic which has some relevance in your prelims also. But then you will also have topics which are from a purely prelims point of view. And this is what we'll be discussing. Now, again, how are you all doing today? How are your preparations going? How are you all feeling today? Yes. I'm seeing all your responses here. Now, how about the BEP app? Now, it's been quite some time that we have started using the BEP app. And I believe right now we all have found our music to this, as in like, okay, it's going fine for us. What is your response, guys? Are you finding it much more easier to use the BEP app at this point? Yes, so I'm seeing those responses also. Now, for those who are getting just started with the BEP app, see, the idea, the philosophy of the BEP app is that all what you need for your preparation is at one single point. So, for example, you don't have to go and search for the test series at one place. Then after that, the unit test at one place, the any of the classes at another place. All of these things would be at a single point, and that is the beauty of the app that is there. So I hope you are all starting to realize it. Now, for those who have just joined for these sessions, to enter into the BEP app, you have to give either your mobile number, which is like this, or you can give the registered email ID with which you've registered at Byju's. You can log in using either of this, and once you log in, you will have to select the course that you've joined for, which here in our case is IAS. Now, in IAS, you have the IAS, which is normal, and then the IAS Hindi batch, which is there. So, you choose IAS, the normal IAS, which is there, and then you will come up to two screens. Now, two screens based on the course that you have joined. If you have joined for the tablet learning program, in that case, you will see a screen like what you see over here in this side. And if you want to access any videos of the tablet which is there, you have to approach the home button over here. Now, if you've joined for the home learning program or the BHLP program, in that case, the screen that you're going to see is somewhat of this manner over here. And here you will see, to access any of the classes, you have something called as a My Classroom symbol. And this is where you can access all the relevant videos. Now, the idea is your study material, unit test, webinars, all your tablet videos, everything will be here at this point. So, let's all make it of the maximum utilization, use it to the maximum potential of what the app has to offer. Now, coming to the very interesting part. Again, I keep telling my students the most, when I select these topics, what I look for is what is the prelims orientation, mains orientation, and how relevant it is for your exams that would be coming forward. On that point of view, I have 5 topics over here which are interesting in its own sense and very relevant from the exam point of view. Let's just briefly look into it. The first topic is about the orderly system in police forces. Now, when we study this, we will try to understand about this very inhumane practice which is existing in the police force and what can be done to prevent it. In the second topic, which I believe is literally a gold mine for your this year's prelims exam, which is going to happen on May 28th. Now, digital lending and RBI regulations regarding the digital lending have been given out very recently. We have to look into the aspects about it. Why? Because this topic, you can note it down somewhere. This topic is going to be a major area from where you will have prelims questions this year. Then coming into the third topic, which is related to science and tech, it is related to a very interesting name if you look at it, Hayabusa 2 probe. So we have to look into what this is, some of the similar missions. So again, this is a topic from a prelims point of view. Then coming into the flag code of India. How many of you know the relevance of this? I mean, there is some relevance regarding this. How many of you have a slight guess as to what the relevance would be? Yes, yes, yes. I can see a lot of students over here who are saying about the Independence Day. There was some controversy regarding that. So, again, from the mains point of view, and from the prelims point of view, this is a question or this is a topic that will be important. And finally, the shortage of HIV drugs. This is a in the coming days, this is going to be a burning issue with relation to the HIV patients which is there. So this is important from a prelims, a mains, and if I may, from the interview point of view also. So this topic requires some kind of a deeper understanding, and this is what we'll be discussing in today's class. Now, without much delay, let's go into the first topic, orderly system in police forces. Now, very recently, the Madras High Court has said something that we have to get rid of the orderly system in police force. This is something that they have mentioned. Now, to appreciate this context, what do you have to know first? You have to know what the orderly system is. Okay, now hear this first, and then we'll go into the content of the slides. The first thing is what? The word orderly basically comes from the idea that someone who's like an assistant. Okay, so you will have a main officer, you will have an orderly that will assist that officer. So it is a French word which means a soldier who's deputed to carry his officer's rations and pack horses to battle. So this assistant is the one who will be seeing that if the horse is ready, if all the food necessary for the officer is ready, all of these things. So this concept is a very age-old concept. Age-old means it's been ages since this was practiced, and it was practiced in this manner. You see, you have a main soldier and you have like someone who's going to assist him with all his goods, all his movement and everything. When the British came to India, you know how the British had a very unique knack into making Indians feel bad about themselves. Now, one way they did this was they started or they told the Indian people, okay, we will recruit you into our army, we will recruit you into all the services related to the army. So what happened is the Indians who got recruited, what they made them do is they made them as orderlies of British officers. So basically what it meant is it was close to slavery. You had a British officer from washing his clothes to getting his grocery to doing every basic routine activity of his. The orderly was assigned to do it, and the orderly did not have like a proper working hours. Like norm, it's not like okay from 9 to 5 we will work. That was not even the idea. Even when the person or the soldier is sleeping, soldier or the British officer was sleeping, you had these orderlies standing as watchmen. So they were the watchmen, cook, washermen, every other activity which the British felt like it was too beneath them to do, they gave it to the Indian orderlies. So you can understand this is a very inhuman practice. It does not consider what condition that this person is in. It does not condition the food or the livelihood of that person. It does not even consider the basic dignity of that individual who is actually doing this work. It was very close to modern day slavery, and the amount of money that they received for it was not even par to the basic soldiers which was there. Sometimes they didn't even get paid. So now you can see why I called it the modern day slavery. So we would think when the British go out, when they are asked to leave India, all these systems which were quite inhuman would stop existing. But what happened is this orderly system kept continuing. Even today, in several police forces, in several army, navy, in many of these forces which are there, you will see the fact that you have orderlies kept. In navy, they have very recently banned it also, but in several other forces, you will see that wherever you have main officers, you will have police officers. These are not civilians. You will have police officers recruited on normal exam basis and everything, normally qualified to be constables and actual police officers out there. They will be doing this day to day household work, moving around with this officer, basically like an assistant to him throughout the day. This is the orderly system. So if I had to define it, an orderly is appointed to help officers to maintain and upkeep uniform, answer telephone calls, attend to personal security, and run small chores. Small chores means like for household activities and everything. So you have kept someone like this, a person who's actually, in most of the cases right now, people who are actually graduates, who are actually qualified to be working in the normal police force, are the people that you put as orderly. On the first impression, do you guys think this is actually a right method? How many of you think this is? No, exactly. This is not a right method, because imagine this, the British used this to actually make the Indians feel bad about themselves. When we get independence, we should have got rid of the system, right? Why should we make our fellow citizens feel bad about themselves? So here you have police officers who are recruited by the state police office, the state police services which are there, and they are actually paid out of the state governments or the money that is there from the each of the government. So now coming into the things, like in India, orderlies are also called as sahayaks, buddies, helpers. These are the several names that you would have heard. For example, those who've had an army upbringing would have heard this term buddy or sahayak, because you see that, okay, you have people like this also over there. Now coming into, so this is basically introduced by the British in India. It is a colonial legacy which we should get rid of. Now, what are the major issues of this? The first thing is, see, in some cases you have your very high ranking officers who need an assistant to be there. So the assistant can do basic works like, okay, collect, take care of his personal security and all these things. But what happens here is they are misused. The orderlies get misused because not only the officers work, the officers' entire families work, relatives work, every other work that is there, this is assigned to the orderly. So the misuse of the service is the first problem. The second problem is the more important thing. As a citizen, this is what we feel more concerned about. All this is happening at the taxpayers' money. As someone had asked, in these cases, what is actually happening is the fact that you have people recruited from the state service. They conduct exams to recruit constables, right? Now people are recruited as constables. Once they get into the service, they will be assigned as an orderly to somewhere, which means what? To pay off all these people, to give salaries to all these people, it is the taxpayers' money which is being given. And after the taxpayer is given, is the taxpayer getting any service? No, the orderly is basically doing some kind of a service for one specific officer only. So at that point, where is the taxpayer's money being used for our own benefit over here? So again, this is an important problem. Next thing comes to the act of corruption, and this is quite important. Why? Because even in this, there happens to be a form of corruption. How so? I'll tell you. See, in several areas or in several state governments, they have realized that this system affects the morale of the people. Affects the morale means, you write the exam to be in your what you say police force, and you're doing these kind of things, so means they feel like they're not serving their country in a proper manner. So what happens, it affects their morale. So several state governments have tried banning the Sahayak service or the buddy service, or what you can call as the orderly service. Now what happens is, at this point, the state government, what they do is they'll give a certain allowance to the officers. What? So they'll say that, okay, whoever is in a senior ranking officer, we'll give you a certain amount of money. You keep a person on your own. So that will be like a normal house help or someone that we can normally get. So they will do all these work for you. They will allot a certain elements. But what happens is, in some cases, officers collect these elements, but they will not be, what you say, recruiting another person. They will still try to get a previous orderly, someone who's worked as a previous orderly, to work for them. Which means what? Here, that money that has to be ideally given to someone else to pay the job is now not given to anyone. The orderly comes and works. The orderly does not get any extra benefits for it. So here, this money that is being allotted in the form of allowance is not utilized by the main officer. So again, this is a case of corruption. Then coming into the burden on the already understaffed police force. Every single point we say, be it the women's safety issue, the child safety, a lot of law and order issues, we constantly say that we do not have enough people, the citizen to police ratio is very, very less. But then what is happening? For example, in states like Kerala, you have almost 6,000 plus people working in the form of orderlies. So now imagine that ideally if these many people were there in the police force, don't you think this will improve the law and order situation over there? Yes, it will. But again, this is not considered. So what happens is, already the police staff is police force is understaffed. On top of it, whoever is there in the police force are getting recruited for these services also. Basically leading to law and order being in a very decreasing manner, or law and order correction happens in a very decreasing manner. Now coming into the law part of it. If you look at it, this actually is criminal misconduct. How so? How so? Because you have an act called as Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. In the Prevention of Corruption Act, it is mentioned that if a public servant is actually committing an offense, what happens is, if you are using the government property for your personal use, then it is conducted, or then it is considered as a kind of criminal misconduct. So here, all the activists who try to put forward this idea, they say that, see, this is actually criminal misconduct, because even if you're recruited as an orderly, you have only very limited functions to do. Take telephone calls, check the uniform, and all these things, check the police personal security which is there. This is it. You don't have to go to the market, get the what you say, grocery for this person. Nothing like that is actually being mentioned. But now imagine this, if someone is using this service, the entire family is using it, they're driving around. So what happens in all these cases? This is actually the person, or that whatever is entrusted to them from the government is being misused for personal use. So again, this amounts to criminal misconduct. Now coming into the most, we are talking from the citizen's point of view, we're talking from a general point of view, but from the point of view of the orderly, I already told you it leads to them having very poor morale. On top of it, it's very, in most of the cases, you see very inhuman treatment, and it leads to very high stress situations also. They are not able to. There was a very recent survey that was conducted by the Madras High Court. I mean, not the High Court, the Madras government had taken the survey which is there. The High Court judgment is actually based on the survey which was there. So in the survey, it was observed that when they took the numbers of the orderlies and they took a survey of the orderlies, most of them could not even get proper leave to go to their homes. Why? Because they are so, they're so entrenched with the daily activities of the officers. So what happens if they leave? There will be some kind of a problem. So what happens is, they do not get proper leaves. It went on to even mention the fact that in some cases, women orderlies who were even pregnant were not even given proper leaves to take rest, or the leave that ideally should be given to them was not given. So these were all the things that were observed, and it was also seen that they worked in very high stress conditions. At every point, if whatever the officer was going through, or whatever kind of treatment that the officer meted out on them, they did not have any proper way to actually relieve their stress. They could not go and complain to any place. So what happens, because of all these things, orderly system is not something that is suited to the modern times that we live in. How many of you agree with me over here? No, there is Meghali, there is no separate exam or anything. These are actually people that who write to get into state police force. Once they get into state police force, in their, it can be in their training period or anything, they get posted as orderlies. This is what happens. Undoubtedly, so a lot of you have agreed with me over here. Now coming into the fact that what is the government's response over here? Now, as you understand, police is a state subject, meaning if you want to take any full-fledged decisions about the police force of your state, only the state can take it. It's not given by the central government. So you cannot say in this case that the central government should pass a law that says, okay, all orderly systems should be banned. Each individual state governments have to take the initiative. In that front, you will see that in the case of certain state governments, in the case of, actually in the case of Tamil Nadu, the orderly system was officially banned in 1979, and it was banned under the All India Service Conduct Rules. So you have All India Service Conduct Rules, which says that, okay, how you should be treating your people, how you should be treating the people who are there in public service. Based on those conduct rules, Tamil Nadu has officially banned the orderly system. But again, what has happened, even though officially it was banned, it was going on in several different forms. Right now, the Madras High Court has said is that no, you have to clearly ban it, and you have to ensure. So they called out all the state police force chief, and they said you have to ensure within 2 weeks the orderly system in the state is completely wiped out. This is what the Madras High Court recently said. So here you can see, so this ban is going to actually be in full-fledged pace. In March 2017, the Karnataka state government also issued a notification which clearly abolished the orderly system. Apart from that, you will also see that you have the second arc, or the administrative commission or the reforms commission which was there, and the sixth pay commission. All of these commissions have constantly said you have to ban the orderly system. Each state government has to take the initiative for it. And they also said that in the case of the Air Force and the Navy, they have abolished the system. See, most of the time in the army, what happens, and the army and the police, they say that they need this service. But then the second ARC commission said that, see, if Air Force and Navy is able to ban this, it should be possible for you. This is basically something that we are carrying forward from the British systems. We can do always better than this, so we needn't have this. So this is the government response in this case. So you will see that apart from this, there are initiatives taken by the Kerala government and all to ban this. So you can say that in the coming times, you will see a lot more states banning it. As of now, you have a proper ban that is there in Tamil Nadu and in Karnataka, which is there. Is the topic clear to all of you? Okay, since now before we go into the question, we studied this topic, and this is because every time I take sessions, and even yesterday when we were discussing the mains test series questions and everything, I see from students as to how do I use this knowledge. You have studied this right now. Where would it come under? It will come under several parts. First thing, in the GS3 paper, you have something called as internal security. And in internal security, there is a specific area about the different forces and the welfare of the forces. So this topic would come there. That is one place. A second place where this would come is in your GS2. So how are you supposed to deal with this? In your GS2, there is a new policy or a new judgment coming. So that will also become important for us from that point of view. What you are supposed to be doing after you've studied this orderly system is that you can put it under orderly system, make what is orderly system, what is the defects of it, what is the response for it, what can be done for it. You can make a single page note for it. What else do you have to keep in mind? Now, a bigger topic is there, which is what? The problems of the police force in India. If a bigger topic ever comes to you like that, or you are studying in internal security, you should make sure that, okay, one of the problems of the police force in India is the orderly system. So this point you should be adding on to a bigger note which says problems of police force in India. This is how you use this information. Is this part clear to all of you? Because I get a lot of responses from you saying that, I want to know how to use this information. So this is why I said this. Yes, Shubhanjali has pointed out a very good example over here. This can be even examples in the ethics paper, because it shows about the inhuman treatment which is being meted out, the modern day slavery which is there. All these aspects you can mention over there. Okay. Now coming into the question, it's a very simple question which is there. With reference to the orderly system in Indian police forces, which was recently in the news, consider the following statements. An orderly is appointed to help the police officers to maintain and upkeep uniform, answer telephone calls, attend to personal security, and run small chores. It is a continuation of the 19th century system introduced by the British. It is still not banned by any state in India. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? You can read the question while I launch the poll. Just give me a minute. Okay, are you all ready? Can I launch the poll? Yes, you can start marking your answers now. Sovik, see, orderly system is what is the meaning of orderly system? You already have a police force. This is not an alternate police force or anything. These are officers, constables and graduates and everyone who's actually writing the exam to be in the police force. But once they are in the police force, they are put under these functions which are there. So even if they are not there, it's not like we all need an assistant to go about these things, right? So what happens is, you don't need this thing ideally, because the Navy, the Air Force and all have already banned this, right? Okay, so I am seeing the responses. Almost 82% of you have marked the right answer. Now, as a compensation for the last time where I forgot to show you the leaderboard. You can just see the leaderboard right now after the first question. Okay, then we'll take it after, maybe at the end of the third and the fifth question. Okay, so I'm not going to read out any names. You all can see your names for yourself and have the proud feeling which is there. Okay, now coming on to, I hope you all have seen the thing. Now, what is the answer to this? First statement is correct. An orderly is appointed to help the police officers to maintain and upkeep. All that is all correct. Somebody has asked chores. What is chores? Chores means, for example, small daily household activities like going to the market, cleaning the home, washing clothes. These are all the different activities which are there. But here, run small chores does not mean all this. Run small chores means something very urgent. For example, the officer wants to go to some place, then that person will take them. These are the small things which can be done ideally in a humane work atmosphere, but these officers are being used to do all the household work, cleaning. All these things are made to be done with them. This is the problem over here. Understand? Now, the second one is, it is a continuation of the 19th century system introduced. Yes, it is right. It is still not banned by any state in India. No, Tamil Nadu had already banned it, but the ban was not in proper manner. Now it is getting banned in a full-fledged manner. That is, the ban is being implemented in a proper manner. Then you also have Karnataka, which has already banned the system in 2017. So this third statement is wrong. The first and second statements are correct. The answer to the question is 1 and 2 only. Okay? Okay. Now coming into the mains question about this. The orderly system is seen as a colonial remnant. What is remnant? Remain. Colonial remains, and is susceptible, means it can be, or it can be, or it can be prone to, you can write that, it can be prone to gross misuse by senior officers. Gross misuse by senior officers. So now what is being asked over here? What is the crux of this question? You have been asked to write how this is a colonial remnant. Okay, so you can mention about how this was initially a French system. The British have used it in India to actually put the Indians at a very submissive position. You can mention all that in this first part. Then you can mention about what are all the different ways this can be misused. So these are all the points I have given over here. Now my question, how many of you wrote your answers after that? I checked with the target IAS people. They told me they have not received so many answers, but let me see your responses. How many of you have seen, or how many of you have written the answers after I told you last time? Some of you are saying, to be honest, what you say, like I have not done this. But then why? This is a very simple question. Can you not write this? Who was the one who was very honest with me? Soham, can you not write? I hope you can at least try writing this answer, because it's a very simple one. Try, get started on your answer writing, guys. Otherwise, trust me, it's going to become like a huge trouble as we move forward. Okay. Now coming on to the second topic, digital lending. So all those who are going to give the exam in the prelims of 2023 and the mains hopefully of 2023 and your prelims of 2024, this topic is going to be very, very important for you. Now let's go into what this is actually. So the reason why it is in news is because the Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank of India, which is there, has recently issued guidelines to regulate digital lending in India. Now coming into the question, what is digital lending? Now before we go into the topic, how many of you have seen these messages come to you, and when you open some app, maybe when you open your Paytm, your Phone Pay and all this, you see these things written as avail pre-approved loan, access loan at zero interest rates. How many of you seen all this over here? Yes. Now, if you are seeing this when you're opening all these things, you have already seen one major element of what we are going to discuss right now, which is digital lending. Okay. Now, to understand digital lending, you have to first understand how does normal lending happen? What is lending? Someone is giving you money. How does normally lending happen in our economy? So if I want money, I need to build a home. I don't have enough money with me. I go to a bank, I try getting a loan. Okay. Now, when I go to a bank, obviously, they will ask me for all the details. They'll check all this. They will see that, okay, if I am giving this person loan, can he or she pay it back? If you seem like the kind of person, maybe because I'm not having maybe a proper job or anything, but then I'm like, you give me loan for 50 lakhs. So they'll be like, see, 50 and all we cannot do because you will not be able to pay back. So after a lot of negotiations, you will finally get some loan. This is one way which we can get some money. We need one thing. This is one way we are lent money from some places. And other way, not we are just thinking about individuals. Think about these big companies. Where do they get money from? They also need, it's not like everybody is born rich so that they will have money enough for all their businesses, right? You must have heard people try to raise money for their business, raise capital for their business. How does that happen? What happens in that scenario also, you will tell or you will seek out investors. You will go about, you will tell them, okay, my company is like this, my company will be giving so many profits in the next few years, so you please invest in my company. And this is how people go out and get the money out there. And this is the normal structure in which all this is happening. Now, because we have all this internet and everything which is happening, you have an other type of lending that is now on the increase, and this is called as your digital lending. Okay, what happens in digital lending? It's not digital just because it is happening over the internet. If I had to put a definition for it, it is that the all credit activity facilitated by electronic platforms whereby the borrower is directly lend or directly connected to the lender. Now, I know a lot of difficult words are there. Don't worry, I'll break it down for you. All credit activity. Credit means what? You're trying to get money. Debit means what? Some money is taken away from you. Okay, you must have seen, no, when you get the final month, your salary is credited to your account. Credited means what? You are getting the money. So all credit activity facilitated by electronic platforms. What are electronic platforms? You have your internet, you have your different internet services which are there. It can be your mobile services which are there. Through any of these platforms, you are trying to get money, and whereby which what is happening? There's not going to be some bank or anything over here. If I want money, I am going out and I'm going to ask people, please give me money. Who can help me out? So anybody who's interested in my venture will help me out over there. Now, again, to get much more clarity on this, digital lending is nowadays happening through majorly two major things called as peer-to-peer lending and loan-based crowdfunding. Okay, what is peer-to-peer? See, look at this scenario which is there. I am a person of decent, what you say, maybe I have a decent CIBIL score. What is CIBIL score? Your credit card score and everything. But then for me to go to the bank and do all this documentation process and everything is too much of a headache. I need very urgently within 1 week, I need to raise some amount of money. So what I do is, I get on to these digital platforms which are there, okay, and I ask them for money. So for example, now the digital platforms you might be knowing would be your Razorpay, your Phone Pay, all these different platforms are there. So I go and ask them, can you guys lend me money? So they will give you something called as pre-approved loan. What is pre-approved loan? You, even without asking much basic details, they just ask name, Aadhaar number, okay fine. How much money? 2 lakhs, okay fine. They will give you credit. Now you must be thinking, are they mad to give us credit like that? What happens is, first they will give you credit. Then only all the follow-up papers and everything will be happening over there. They'll check your credentials and all that. But initially you will get the money. So you understand, it's very easy. If I want the money on an immediate number, on an immediate scale, what I can do, I can approach to these people. That is the first thing. Next thing is what? What is this peer-to-peer lending? Peer means what? See, I want money. You have enough money with you. We all are there on one digital platform, suppose. Okay. Digital platform means it can be anything. It can be a place where there are a lot of entrepreneurs over there. So I am pitching my idea, and anybody, I'm not even going individually in a physical way to each one of them. Any of those peers of mine, peers means people who are on the same level as mine, can offer to be like, okay, for the time being, we will raise some amount of money for you and you have to pay so and so interest. Now, what is being eliminated over here? Normally, all this is happening through a bank, which means if there is an exchange of money between, see, I am here, I don't know this other person personally or anything. I'm asking, I need money. Can you give me money? They're like, okay, fine, sure, I can give you money. You have to pay me so much of interest. They're like, okay, fine. So we are connected on a digital platform. There is no bank supervising our actions. And I'm getting the money and I'm doing whatever function I need with it. And I might pay you back. I might not pay you back. Again, that is a problem here. But then this kind of a lending borrowing is happening. So this is called peer-to-peer lending. First thing. Second thing is what? Loan-based crowdfunding. Okay. Sometimes you want to raise a loan. So here there is one individual. I am one individual and I'm asking another individual in the case of peer-to-peer lending. In the loan-based crowdfunding, I am saying I have to raise a loan of 10 lakhs. Can anybody all help me out? So one person is saying, okay, I will put 1 lakh. The other guy is like, okay, fine, I'll put 2 lakhs. So there are people now, you must be wondering, who are all these people who are ready to give you so much of money? Because you must be thinking, I'm going and asking my friend for 10 rupees, they are not giving. Who are these people who are giving it in a very happy way? Now this is where this importance of this digital platform comes. You have to understand, in India, digital lending is a very new phenomenon, right? So now, if they want to have a good market base in India, they have to attract the people over there, right? So you will have companies coming and giving you like, okay, fine, we will give you the money, you do whatever you need to do, we will crowd fund and give it to you. So sometimes what happens, I need a loan for 10 lakhs, I will ask several people. Now if they don't have, they will ask several people. Now all of us are connected where? On a digital platform. Understand? So the digital platform is what facilitating all this kind of a movement of money, and the crowd will fund. It's called crowdfunding. Means it's not one individual who will give me the money. It will be several individuals who will be like, okay, fine, I'll put 50,000. Otherwise, okay, I'll put 1 lakh, and finally I'll be able to raise the loan. This is how. And after a point, once I get the money, I pay back on an individual level. This is called, or all these activities which happen without a proper, or at least until now in India, all this was happening without the RBI supervising on all of these things. It was happening in a very free manner, and RBI at one point said, no, you should not do this. You cannot engage yourself in peer-to-peer lending, because RBI said in India, we are declaring it as illegal. But now RBI understood it is not always possible to declare something as illegal and stop it over there. So now RBI has come forward and said, okay, we'll do one thing. We will start overlooking all of these things. When RBI starts overlooking, it's like you have someone at the head checking, okay, what interest rates. Now imagine, in the normal lending, the bank is taking interest from us. If I am taking a loan, a housing loan, the bank is asking me to pay 9% interest, or 9 or 10% interest. When I'm doing this digital lending, they're like, you don't pay so much of interest, you give me maybe 5%. Okay, so now don't you think people will be more attracted to the digital lending, because you have to pay only very less interest back? So now RBI is like, see, we have to regulate all of this. This cannot happen. We have to see what all are the problems over here, and we will start regulating this. Now, is the concept and the evolution of digital lending clear to all of you? Yes, yes. So now as we go forward, when you understand some more info, because see, it's a very new thing. Even RBI, I'll tell you, this is a very funny thing. Today I was reading that entire document that RBI has given about, for this peer-to-peer lending and what all. So in that first page, and I would suggest you guys also do this, those who are giving prelims next year, just check RBI regulations for peer-to-peer lending. Just type that in Google. This RBI document will come. You don't have to go into the entire document. In the first one page, they've given basic definitions for all these terms which are there. You have to understand, RBI itself is dealing with something very new over here. Understand? So that is why they've defined everything, and most of the definitions, they've taken even international definitions which are there. It's not RBI's own definitions. So you can go through that. So this is a very relatively new thing which is there. If you, again, if it is not clear, what any word or anything which is not clear, we will take it up at the end. Don't worry. Okay. Now coming into the fact of what is the Indian scene when it comes to peer-to-peer lending. See, what you just have to understand at this point is, peer-to-peer lending means, if I want money, I am approaching another individual who is ready to give me money, and we are transacting that amount. Okay, but I don't know the individual. That individual is not my friend, that individual is not my relative. I don't even know that person. We are doing this exchange over a digital platform, and that is the only guarantee over here, because the digital platform is overlooking each of these lendings. It's not like I got their number from there and I'm calling them personally and asking for the loan. That is not how it happens. We meet on the digital platform which is there, and from here we are kind of exchanging the money. This is peer-to-peer lending. So I saw a lot of you who had these kind of questions which are there. So it can be individuals, it can be businesses, but they try to raise the money in this manner. Okay, now since peer-to-peer lending is clear, let's go into who all are there when it looks, before the RBI was going to make the regulation, who all were there in this digital market scenario. You have entities regulated by the RBI and permitted to conduct lending activities. Who are the entities regulated by RBI? Bank, your normal banks which are there, they are regulated by the RBI and they are permitted to conduct lending activities which are there. So for example, if SBI as a bank is doing the lending activity in person right now, tomorrow SBI can get on a digital platform and also do it. Okay, so they are the first group of people who are there in the digital thing. That is a normal proper banks which are there. Next, who are there? Entities that are authorized to lend under other statutory or regulatory requirements but not regulated by RBI. For example, in India, other than RBI also, you have your certain agriculture banks which are there, which need not necessarily come under the regulation of RBI. When you study money and banking in economy, this will be dealt in detail, but for your understanding, you have to get it. Not all banks in India are regulated by the RBI. There are some banks like your cooperative banks. There are some other urban cooperative banks. There are some foreign banks. Some of these banks are not regulated by RBI. But what RBI will does, or there will be some other law to see that it works in a proper manner. For example, if in the case of any stock market or share market things are there, you have another body called as SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. You have the SEBI which will be giving some power to some bodies like, okay fine, you guys can also lend and borrow money. So now they are not regulated by RBI, but then they are regulated by SEBI. So they will also be in the digital platform era which is there. Then who are the rest of the people? Entities lending outside the purview of any statutory regulatory provisions. Which means what? There is no law, no kind of law or any kind of regulation to actually protect these people. And right now, the regulations which RBI has given about is specifically for these third category of people. Why? Because the first category RBI is already regulating. Second category SEBI and other bodies are regulating. Third category is the one nobody was regulating. And these people were the ones who were doing most of the peer-to-peer lending, crowd-based loan funding and all that. So now this third category is what is being put under the regulations. Is this part clear to all of you? Yes. The reason why I'm asking you at every point is I can understand this can be a technical topic to some of you at least. This is why I'm ensuring that everybody's on point. Okay. Now coming on to, if we are doing this, what are the ideal benefits? Okay, now we'll come to the regulation. Before we come to the regulation, what this entire idea of digital lending which is there, as far as you've heard right now, you have some idea about it, right? What is your opinion about it? Do you think we need this kind of a lending? How many of you think this is actually a good idea? A very mixed opinion that is there, but I think most of you are saying yes. I'll tell you why. I'll just paint this picture in India. Okay, what happens is, see now, okay, we might think of all of us like a very decent individual, right? So now tomorrow you get a very good business idea. And then you're going to the bank and you're like, so because obviously we don't have that kind of money to start the business. So what happens is you're going to the bank. So you seem like, I have got education from good college, I have been topper in my college, so on all your criteria, you are a good citizen of the country. Now you're going to the bank and asking them, okay, can you please give me loan for my business? The first thing the bank will ask is, okay, what is your collateral? Means you will have to give something to the bank which says, okay, in case I don't pay your loan, you can take that thing and go. It can be your house, it can be a land, it can be something, but the bank needs a collateral. Now most of the time what happens is, if the collateral is there also, the bank will have to go and check. Okay, see, I'm saying, okay, I will give you the documents of a house. What if that house is only not there? So then what happens, the bank will go and check, and finally they will give you the loan. Which means the time that you apply for the loan and that by the time you get the loan, there's quite a time gap over there. Now, it is in this space that digital lending is trying to speed up things. You want loan, you got it. Today morning, I just opened up that PhonePe app which is there, and I saw the fact that they said you are qualified for pre-approved loan. I didn't ask them even for a loan. Now they're saying, no, 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 you take the loan. We don't mind. You take the loan and you do whatever you want. Now look at this. So better loan disbursement process. On one hand, you have the bank where you are going and waiting and you're still not getting the loan. On the other hand, you have, because everything is happening in a digital space. How so? The entire process. How many of you have opened bank accounts on the digital apps which are there? Let me see that. Exactly. It is so easy. You just have to sit at your home. You just have to take that picture of yours, upload it, put the Aadhaar card, whatever number that you uploaded. Then they'll ask you from some basic details. And within minutes, your account is open. Right now, if I want to open a fixed bank or fixed account which is there, I can do it on my mobile app which is there. So the digital medium has made things very fast. All you have to do is you have to have a good internet connection, and all these processes can happen in a good speed. That is not the case with the physical mediums. So better loan disbursement process, easy process to capture the applicant's details. Now for example, when I go and give the Aadhaar card to the bank and I'm giving my details over there, the bank, sometimes they will keep on verifying it. Sometimes, because there might be human error, they might not verify it. What if I'm giving some other details over there? Okay, so someone is getting my Aadhaar card, stealing my Aadhaar card and going and applying for a loan. All these kinds of mismatches can happen. But in the digital media, what happens is, if I'm uploading some kind of a thing, the next stage they will say is that, okay, to complete your KYC, you can have a person coming to your home and taking that fingerprint detail or whatever is necessary. That is what completes the process. But again, even before that is completed, they will have given my account for me. Only after that they'll say like, okay, now you please complete the KYC process. You please give that fingerprint of yours over here. So that will be complete. So what happens is, whatever information I am giving is directly stored into a database. It's checked with the UIDAI. The Aadhaar details are there with the UIDAI authority, right? They will check it. They will corroborate it. Then only finally I can say, okay, I have my account with me. So everything is happening through the digital space. So it is easy to get the details. It's easy to make decisions also. If somebody doesn't want to, you are giving all your details, and at that process they are finding a mismatch over there. At that point itself, they will inform, see, you are not eligible to open the account because of so and so reasons. So what happens is, otherwise all this process takes a longer time, affects the speed of the economy also. It increases efficiency. A digital lending platform improves efficiency by cutting expenses up to 30 to 50%. How many of you have ever been to a bank and just being like, okay, why did I come to this bank? Because at every single counter you will be asked to give your details, fill a form. If you even want to change one small term itself in your account details, you will have to give 2-3 letters and stand over there. In all of these cases, all that is being cut short. You don't need all of those process. So if you want to change a password, you should have a proper functioning app. So what happens is it increases the efficiency. Next thing, there is greater consistency in lending. We might not feel this, but then any farmers who've tried to get agriculture loans would feel this. What happens is, now there are two farmers, both of them have had the same kind of background and everything. One of them approaches one bank, he gets the loan, and the other person goes to a separate bank, he does not get the loan. There is no logic. Both of the banks might be national banks, both of them would have same kind of criteria, but what happens, the manager's subjectivity, the person who's granting the loan, their subjectivity, that creeps in, and what happens, you don't get the loan. So you do not have any rational explanation as to why you have not got the loan. So in the case of digital lending, you get onto the app which is there, whatever condition you're there, as long as you're giving all your basic details correctly, if you qualify for the loan, you will get it. So this is why it offers greater consistency in lending. Next thing, it reduces human errors. Most of the time, when it comes to checking, for example, I talked about the collateral and all that. When they go and check it and all that, what happens is the bank employees and all who go to check it might make some error which affects the loan amount that the person gets. But here, nothing like that is done. Every other collateral, even if there is a collateral required, most of the digital lending platforms do not ask for a collateral itself. If at all a collateral is being asked, they have employed even services like drones to go and check the area in a proper manner. So on the whole, it has a lot of benefits. So now we are thinking, yeah, why are we not doing this? Then comes into the question, what do you think would be the actual problem of this? Can anybody tell me some problems related to this? Exactly, guys. So many of you are saying this. Here there is a hacking possible, cyber security, fraud. Trust me, this is because digital field, when you say it, a lot of entities, we also don't know what is happening. So let me tell you what are the problems related to it. The problems related to it comes from something called as third party engagement. The reason why everything is so fast in the digital sphere is because, see, now I want a loan. Okay, I am an individual. I am asking this digital platform approved loan. What happens is, in all of this, it seems like the whoever is on the other side, which is maybe Razorpay or Acco or some other financial service which is there, they are the ones who are giving me the loan. It seems like that to me. But what actually happens is, whatever information I am giving, it goes to someone called as a third party. Okay. Now you must be thinking, right, how is this bank able to know all this information is correct or not? See, I can give wrong information. No, I, not purposefully or on a purpose itself, I can give wrong information maybe. But then how does the bank going and checking all this? So for that, the bank employs someone called as a third party who is there. Now the third party, whenever I am giving the details, my details goes to the third party which is there, which is not visible to me. I will not see the third party. It is actually employed by whatever bank or whoever is the digital platform which is there. They are the ones who employ it. What happens? They are the ones who will do all the fact checking and everything, and then they will tell to the bank, okay, go ahead. At this point, the bank will give me the loan. Very simple thing. When you do your UPI transactions, most of us have done that. What happens? You want to pay for something, you take phone pay. Okay, what happens in phone pay, Google Pay, whatever, you scan it, you scan phone pay, and you have linked the phone pay to your bank account, suppose. Now what happens is, when you do and the payment is done, it's done in minutes. You know what is happening at the back end? What happens in the back end is, You are scanning the PhonePe code which is there. The PhonePe will send a message to your bank which is there. The bank will immediately approve it from there. After the bank is approving it from there, the money comes to the PhonePe account, and from the PhonePe account, it goes to the merchant that has to be given it to. So you are buying some grocery means, and there's a PhonePe code over there. It looks like you are scanning the PhonePe thing and you are getting it. But then what happens is you're scanning it. At that very moment, what is happening is it goes to the bank server, the bank grants permission to withdraw money from there, and the bank, after the money comes to PhonePe gives to the merchant over there. Now you think all this will happen in these seconds just like that? No. To facilitate all this to move in a very fast manner, you have certain service providers who are called as your third parties. This is why sometimes when you see, when you even scan some things, what happens is you will not, maybe the money goes from your account, but it does not reach the person who you are paying it. Sometimes the money will be taken away and it will be refunded. Why is all this happening? In between this transaction which is happening, which we think is happening in minutes, what is happening is you have this digital platform which is PhonePe, my bank, the physical bank which is there, then you have a third party in middle who's trying to facilitate all of this in a proper manner. Now let me ask you one thing. When you have this third party, we don't know who these people are, okay, because this is employed by the bank and the payment service. Now they are getting all the information off from our side, right? Whatever information I am giving to PhonePe is giving to the third party also. Third party is ensuring, everything is mutual. So what will the third party be doing when this transaction is happening? I'll tell you this. So on the look, this is happening. I'm scanning PhonePe. PhonePe directly, I told you, it will send a message to the bank. Now, PhonePe will have employed a third party to do it. So the third party will be sending the message to the bank. But before they send it, they will see, okay, you are telling for this PhonePe account. This PhonePe account and this bank account, is it matching? Okay, correct. Is the name matching? Correct. Okay. Then the third party will send the request to the bank. The bank will be like, okay, fine, this is all correct. They will verify from their side. Maybe sometimes the bank will also employ someone to ensure that all this is correct. Most of the times, Indian banks do not do it. But then what happens? After the bank is saying, okay, fine, you take the money from this account, again that information comes to the third party. And the third party will check, okay, PhonePe has asked for 100 rupees. Am I receiving 100 rupees? Am I receiving 100 rupees from that specific account itself? And then that money is transferred to PhonePe. So this is like some, if I'm standing here, I have all these people, I'm like, I will be the one who takes care of all your arrangements. You give the money to me, I will just check, okay, fine, it's all correct. You do this, you do this. This is being facilitated by the third party, which means every information that my bank has and PhonePe has, this third party also has with them. Can you see the problem in this? How many of you have understood it till here? Yes. Now, so what happens over here is, in this case, you have to ensure that this third party which is being engaged over here, they should have some regulations and they should be also part of the law. Next thing is the data privacy violations, and that can happen at all of these levels. The third party, the digital platform, the banking sector which is there, in all of these places, our data can be misused. So again, that is a problem. Now for digital loans such as consumer loans, instant loans, etc., there are no regulatory methods or at all. I told you these instant loans, no? Today, if I want, right after the class, if I want a loan, I can go and apply to one of my whichever bank accounts I have, and you will get something called as a platform where I can go take an instant loan. You must have seen something called as Navi. How many of you have seen the ads of something called as Navi that keeps coming in these decent days? It is all there. Yes, if you've not seen it, just after this, maybe you will start getting, because we are discussing this again by the power of internet, you might start getting messages after this. Anyway, so what happens is these platforms and all provide instant loans which are there, and until recently none of these were covered under the regulatory mechanisms. And finally, there are no safeguards to protect. So in this process, if some fraud is happening, be it the peer to peer lending, any fraud is happening, there is no authority where I can go and complain. Why? Because in the first place, none of it is covered in any of our regulatory mechanisms. Now enter the recent regulations of RBI. If you've understood till here, you will understand. Navi is actually a type of, again, an instant loan providing platform which is there. Okay. If you understood till here, now it's very easy to understand what these recent regulations are. The first regulation that RBI puts is, you have two categories of things. RBI has divided all of them into two categories. One is RBI regulated entities, which is who? Your banks, your normal banks which are there, any organizations which are there, RBI subsidiaries which are there. All of these are RBI regulated entities. Then you have lending service provider. Who are the lending service provider? It can be any of these platforms we just discussed which are ready to lend money to people. So any digital platform that is ready to lend money to people are called as lending service providers. Now, coming into the first important regulation. The first regulation says all loan disbursals and repayments are required to be executed only between the bank accounts of the borrower and the regulated entity. Which means what? For example, if there is PhonePe, there is my bank, and there is me. I want to get a loan from PhonePe. Okay, PhonePe is ready to give me also. But what is the RBI regulation saying? Okay, PhonePe can be ready to give you and all, that is all fine. But PhonePe should put that money into the bank, my whatever bank is there concerned. And the bank is the one that will give it to me. So what is happening over here? All loan disbursals and repayments. Whom do I pay to? I pay back to the bank. So they are saying it can only be through the RBI regulated entity. You cannot have some lending service provider. You cannot have direct relation with the lending service provider. So all loan disbursals and repayments are required to be executed only between the bank accounts of the borrower, which is me, and the regulated entity, with no pass through to the LSP which is there. I cannot take, okay, PhonePe is the one ready to give me, but I cannot have that direct relation with the PhonePe. What has happened is PhonePe will give to the bank, bank will give to me. Is this regulation clear to all of you? Yeah, exactly. That is a problem. The entire essence of peer-to-peer lending was what? I can directly interact with them. So that they have changed now. Now they're like, no peer-to-peer and all. You want to interact means only through me you interact. So RBI has become like that parent who's like, you boy, if there is someone wants to each other, you guys want to talk with each other, you will look only into my watch. I will be the one regulating you. This is what RBI has done. Next thing what RBI has done, any fees, charges payable to the LSP during the credit intermediation process must be paid directly by the regulated entity rather than the borrower. What does this mean? Okay, this means that now PhonePe is like, see, I was ready to pay that money to the borrower, but bank is like, no need, you pay to me, I will pay to them. Okay, PhonePe was like, fine, okay, fine. You take the money which is there. But then it's not going to happen. It's not as easy as I am telling it to you. This doesn't happen, right? So if PhonePe needs to give that money to some kind of a bank, the bank, even the PhonePe should be ready, because this is an idea that they came up with to actually exchange money. Now bank is doing this. Bank has literally become like an intermediary over there. So now some amount of money or some compensation or anything will be needed to facilitate this. PhonePe, if it has to send the money to the bank, there should be some amount of what you say. It will not happen in an easy manner. PhonePe will be like, okay, fine, I will send 10 lakhs to you, but then I have an issue over here. This was my service. I need some service charge. Okay. Ideally, PhonePe deserves that, right? PhonePe is ready to give the money, but PhonePe is now doing this through the bank. PhonePe is not even have that peer-to-peer lending thing also. So PhonePe says, okay, 10 lakh loan we will give to the person, but then you have to give me some 1,000 rupees as some fees which is there. Now they are saying that 1,000 rupees which PhonePe needs as that fees or something, that you cannot take from the borrower. What did the borrower do? The borrower just asked for a loan. That has to be paid by the bank. That has to be paid by the regulatory entity. This is what that second regulation says. Any fees or charges payable to the LSP, which is PhonePe in this case, during the credit intermediation process must be paid directly by the regulated entity rather than the borrower. Is this point clear to all of you? Yes, perfect. Now, apart from that, RBI came because anyway you're giving out these regulations, So RBI is like, okay, let's go all out. Let's put very strict regulations. Next thing they said, a standardized key fact statement must be provided. This is one thing which I feel will come as a UPSC question. Why? Because they can just put this over there and say key fact statement recently seen in news is related to what organization? RBI, SEBI, World Bank, IMF, three, four options they can give. What is a key fact statement? Okay, now coming to this part. How many of you have ever taken a loan or an insurance policy or anything and maybe even have a credit card with you, so much so that you are not even knowing how the payment is happening? You are not knowing how much money they're taking away from you. Until a certain point, you have a track. But every month they're saying, okay, 2% interest on that, 3% interest on this thing. Now, every month you are not even understanding how your money is going. How many of you have had this kind of an experience? Exactly. A lot of us have this kind of an experience. So now RBI said, okay, whatever money or whatever loan that any of these digital platforms are planning to give, you have to give a key fact statement. You have to state in very simple terms how much money you are giving to the person, how much interest he has to pay on a monthly basis, how much interest he has to pay. Every information should be in a very transparent and clear manner, and this has to be given to the consumer in the first place itself. When they are going for the loan itself, they have to give this key fact statement. This, I believe, is a very good thing. This is something that even our normal banks can practice. Why? Because most of the time the consumer gets confused as to we are going on paying money, but the loan is not getting over only. So a key fact statement will give all the necessary information related to your loan to the consumer. Next thing, the loan contract must provide a cooling off or lookup period. This is also interesting from the consumer rights point of view. Now, see, some of us now, we all have this experience. You might be seeing some kind of a ad or something that says, if avail instant loan of 10 lakhs. You're like, okay, fine, sounds interesting. Let me see. I will click. And before you even know, you would have even, because this digital lending happens in this very fast manner, you would have become a person who's taken a loan of 10 lakhs. It will have been reflected also. But now the question comes, you were just exploring this, right? So, and sometimes maybe you don't want the loan also. So now RBI has said, for every consumer, you should give a cooling off period. Means even when they avail the loan, you should give a 30-day period whereby which if they want to cancel the loan, they can do it. Okay, so sometimes if they've done it by mistake or they don't want it or they've got a better deal somewhere, if they want to cancel the loan within 30 days in the cooling off period, you can cancel it. I again feel this regulation is also something that is very good from a consumer rights point of view. Data collected by the digital lending applications should be need based, have clear audit trails, be done solely with the borrower's prior explicit consent. What does that mean? What is all this need based means? What? Okay, see, to get your loan which is there, for example, to get the approval, what all details will a digital lending platform require? Anytime you install an app onto your phone, they will ask, no, allow permission for camera to access all the files, allow permission for microphone to access all the files. Now you must be thinking you will always give allow because you don't have time to sit and read all that. Now here they're saying you cannot ask all the people for all their information. Now I told you earlier, sometimes after the session you will start getting ads for instant loans. Why? Because now you are hearing this, you have given access for your microphone and camera and everything for all these people. Whoever wants to collect your data are already collecting your data. So now in this case, what RBI is saying is that you cannot collect all the data and go. If you are a digital lending application, why do you need the service of your location, the person's location? How is it becoming important? So you don't need the location, so don't take the location, what you say, data which is needed. Why do you need the microphone details? Which are microphone means what? The voice details over there. Why do you need the voice details if you're opening a bank account? So these things need not be taken. They're saying RBI RBI clearly says whatever data you're taking should be need based. Only what you need you should be taking. Whatever you are taking should have clear audit trail, that you should be able to see, okay, this data is being used for this purpose, and it should, whatever data you're collecting, you should take the prior explicit consent of the person. You shouldn't be secretively asking, okay, to open this loan I need that, I need this. You should clearly ask, see, can we take your camera details, can we take your address details? You have to explicitly ask, get the consent from the borrower, and then only take the data. And finally, if you have any problem related to any of these digital lending platforms, RBI has said we are going to create an integrated ombudsman scheme. Who's an ombudsman? Ombudsman is a body whereby which it will be a very neutral body. Okay, so if I'm having, because ideally you must be thinking all these digital lending platforms and everything, if RBI is only regulating, if I go and complain about them, RBI will try to protect them, right? But no, an ombudsman will be appointed from several parties in the financial space. It will not just be RBI employees or RBI people, and they will be very neutral, and they will try to solve and give you the necessary, whatever is your grievance, they will try to solve it. And this is the recent regulations of digital lending. In the coming 1.5 year, this is going to feature as several kinds of questions. Is this topic clear to all of you? Yes, very, very clear. Some of you have mentioned it's very, very clear. So much of motivation when I see that. Now, before I go into this, those, just to understand, how do you make a note for this? You just have to make a note, what is digital lending and why we need it. So you can talk about all the misuse and all that, and you can talk about what were the new regulations. This is what you will need for this. And again, when it comes as a mains question also, they're going to not just ask about the digital lending regulations. They're going to ask you a general question maybe about the entire digital lending. So that is why you need the definition. Now coming on to some of these things. Now a lot of you have been asking me, can I get some examples and all this? So I've mentioned using PhonePe and Paytm and all that, but look at all these things. The reason why I can tell you digital lending is going to be up on the rise is because this shows the details of all those companies who are in this digital lending space and have already reached the valuation. Valuation means their market value is over 1 billion. Look at all these companies. You've Vedantu, you've Zeta, Cred, BharatPay, Razorpay, Paytm, ChargeBee, Policy Bazaar. All of these companies that you normally see these ads for, These are all companies which are involved in this digital lending market space. Okay, so I hope this topic has been very, very clear to all of you. Now, with that, let's go into the question which is there. Consider the following statements regarding Reserve Bank of India guidelines to regulate digital lending in India, which was recently in the news. All loan dispersals and repayments are required to be executed only between the bank accounts of the borrower and the regulated entities of RBI. Okay, take a moment, read the question properly, and then go and mark the poll. Don't after that don't come and tell me, ma'am, I got careless mistake and all that. Okay, second statement is what? Any fees, charges and so on payable to lending service providers during the credit intermediation process must be paid by the borrower. Two statements, read carefully. Now, which of the statements above is correct is what is being asked. Let me launch the poll. Okay, can we start marking the answers? Start up, guys. You can start doing it. Dispersal means giving out. Okay, so Sakib has asked that. Key fact statement basically is a statement, or is it'll be like a what you say, consider all the details of your loan, whatever loan you are availing. It will be put in a very clear manner. What is the amount, what is the interest, what is the time period, how much money you have to pay. If you don't pay that amount of money, what is the penalty? Okay, let's see. 58% of you have marked the right answer. Now, where did you guys go wrong? Let's see where most of you marked C. How come, guys? I explained all that phone pay example and everything. Even with a common sense, you could have thought about this. I'll go into the question. Look at this. All loan dispersals and repayments are required to be executed only between the bank accounts and borrower and the of the borrower and regulated entities. This is a correct statement. What is the second one saying? Any fees, charges and so on payable to the LSP during the credit intermediation process must be paid by the borrower? No, it must be paid by the regulating entity. What did the borrower do? The borrower just asked for a loan. It is this regulating entity which has now said that, okay, you can only pay through us. You cannot directly pay between them. So, if any extra amount comes, the borrower doesn't have to pay. It will be paid by the regulating entity. How did you guys mark it wrong, or did you just read it in a very careless manner and mark it? Yes. So here, when it comes to this over here, this is basically your answer to this question is two. This the first part which is there, which is one only. Now coming on to the mains question of this. The Reserve Bank of India has recently issued guidelines to regulate digital lending in India. In this context, examine the benefits and the concerns associated with digital lending. I'll be very open with you. This is the kind of question you should be practicing for this topic. If it was a much more, what you say, like a specific law and everything, we could have gone into much more details. But in this case, what you have to practice is the benefit and the concern of digital lending, and how this new regulation which has come about will actually solve these problems which are there. Okay, is this clear? Okay, I can see. No issue. See, the point is, if it's clear, I can see some of you have misunderstood the question, but then I hope now it's clear. Now coming into, okay, now this topic, Hayabusa 2 probe. If Now, on almost all the years where prelims questions are there, there is one space and space technology question which is like a match the following question. So today I will give you two informations in this discussion which is there. I want you to specifically write it down in that science and tech current affairs that you are noting down for all the sessions which are there. Okay? And trust me, when it comes, just think of me and thank me at that point. Let's look into the topic. Hayabusa 2 probe. Okay. Hayabusa 2 is the name of a probe. And what is a probe? A probe is like a spaceship which is moving all around the space. The context of this is in December 2020, the Hayabusa 2 probe, which was sent out to space, they brought some samples along with it and they've come back into Earth. Now, the scientists and researchers started doing all the research on this, and very recently they came about with some discoveries that were related to this specific place that Hayabusa had gone to. Now, our doubt is, where has Hayabusa gone? What all did they collect from there? What are the findings of this Hayabusa? Coming to this, Hayabusa, from the term itself, you might have guessed it, it is a Japanese spacecraft. And this spacecraft has explored the asteroid Ryugu. Ryugu, that is the name. Keep this in mind, guys. Ryugu is the name of the asteroid, and it is a Japanese spacecraft that has gone over there. What is the name of the Japanese spacecraft? Hayabusa 2. Now it went, or you can see that to reach Ryugu itself, it took some time. Once it reached the Ryugu asteroid, which was there, it spent almost from June 2018 to November 2019. It was there on the Ryugu asteroid. In total, it was a 6-year mission. Okay, it started from 2013-14 period. It went up to 2019. In total, it was a 6-year mission. And in this mission, this Hayabusa started from Earth, went to Ryugu, went over there, was settled over there for some time, collected the sample and came back. It is operated by the Japanese State Space Agency, which is otherwise called as JAXA. Okay, it is an asteroid mission. Now coming into the question, what is an asteroid? What is an asteroid? If you look at an asteroid, you will see that. Now, any idea what an asteroid is? Any idea? Does anyone know what any kind of, or know about any type of asteroids which are there? Okay, think about this. Now, to understand asteroid, we have to go back to some time ago when all these planets and everything was getting formed. Now, along at the same time, when you had the Big Bang, which means something happened and this universe was getting formed, and after a point, when I say after almost billions of years only, your planet started forming. Okay. Now at that point, you had some amount of, see, when I'm saying planets started forming, it was not like, okay, they all came together and one day it became a planet. That is not the idea. When there was Big Bang and there were all these micro different particles, they started combining, and these were all chemical particles. They started combining with each other, and very soon, when you can see, all these chemicals started becoming together, and along with those chemicals, whatever any kind of dust or any other particles which was there in the space already, that started coming together. Okay, when they all started coming together, initially they would have just been like small spot things. Now they started becoming bigger and bigger in mass. When they started becoming bigger and bigger in mass, they started colliding with each other over the time. And when they started colliding with each other, from these, now when I'm saying these rocks and all, you have to imagine it's gigantic, huge structures we are talking about, not two stones that you see on the earth. They started hitting each other, and what happened? You had all these rocks flying over here and there. Now, out of those rocks, some of them, what started happening is, so now you have the sun also formed, and the sun has a huge gravitational pull. So some of these rocks which were flying around in the space, when the gravitational pull of the sun started happening, these rocks started getting attracted to the sun. Now it did not get so much attracted that it will come and fall into the sun. The sun was going on attracting them. So what happened? These asteroids all started coming nearby, nearby, nearby. And slowly, what started happening, because of this gravitational pull of the sun and due to certain physics, which you don't have to know at this point, what started happening is these asteroids started moving around the sun. So asteroids are basically rocky objects that orbit the sun, but they are much smaller than planets. Okay. Now there is a very interesting thing about these asteroids. Why? So now when I'm saying it's the solar system, you have solar system like this. You have all of them moving around in different orbits. Who's moving? Your planets are moving. Now when the asteroids also, I said the asteroids are moving in an orbit. And this is the interesting part. See, if you are a planet, you already have some huge mass. So what happens is it's already following a clear path around the sun. An asteroid, what happens is, now there is an asteroid which is much smaller than this, smaller than your planets. They are initially going in some orbit like this around the sun. But suddenly what happens, for example, if they have some other kind of gravitational pull from somewhere, maybe they are going, if you have an asteroid like this, it's moving in a orbit around the sun, and suddenly it is coming near to some Jupiter or some planet. So now you know Jupiter will also have some pull around it. So what happens? Now this asteroid will move out of the orbit. This asteroid will move out of the orbit. For some time it will go around Jupiter. Now maybe at some point some other kind of attraction comes, then this asteroid will have another orbit over there. Which means if the planets have a very fixed orbit around the sun, asteroids are not fixed. Asteroids are like, okay, sometime I will go around the sun. After someone comes and attracts it somewhere else, then it will start orbiting around them. So like this, around several planets also, you have asteroids constantly moving around. Can anybody give me the example of those planets between which you see asteroids in a very large amount? Yes, Aditya. Aditya has said mostly found between Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter, yes, a lot of you have said Jupiter and Mars. Between Mars and Jupiter and even Saturn, okay, even around Saturn also you see, but between Mars and Jupiter, it is a lot. You will see asteroids moving in a belt-like format. Lot of them moving together, okay. So here you see this happening. Now coming into the star of our topic, Ryugu. Ryugu asteroid. So what basically happens when it comes over here is that you have asteroids all around the place. Okay, some of them are far from the earth, some of them are near to the earth. Those asteroids which are near to the earth are called as near earth asteroids. They have orbits which are very close by to the earth. Okay. Now, do you think that is a very good scenario that we are having asteroids moving very close by? I just told you how these asteroids are like, if something comes and attracts them, they will change their orbit, they will move in some other direction. So now if you have some asteroid which is moving closely to the earth, if there is something that tries to attract the asteroid to the earth, it will come and fall on us also. So now coming into one other specific category of asteroids called as potentially hazardous asteroids. Potentially hazardous asteroids means these asteroids can cause danger, can come and fall on the earth. Why? Why are we saying they can? Either they will be very huge, or the fact that they will be very close to the earth. Okay. How many of you've seen, there are so many actually, if you look into Hollywood movies and all that, you every other time they have some movie which says that, okay, you have some asteroid coming and falling onto earth. There's a very recent movie, I think 1 year back, there was a movie by Leonardo DiCaprio that says that, okay, there's an asteroid going to come and fall onto earth and how to protect this. So what are these asteroids? These are potentially hazardous asteroids which are there. Now, there are almost 10,000 such asteroids that are around in several parts, which we have categorized as potentially hazardous asteroids. Ryugu is one of them. Okay, Ryugu is one of them. So almost 10,000 asteroids are there, out of which almost 1,400 we've categorized as potentially hazardous asteroids, and Ryugu is one among this 1,400. Is that clear? Yeah, you get. Oh, on a sudden, I was looking at, and a lot of comments were coming as "Don't look up." "Don't look up," I believe, is the name of the movie. Okay. Yes. So now coming over here, you will see they have sent this mission to Ryugu. Why do you think of we are sending these missions to asteroids and all? There should be some reason, right? Now I just told you the reason. The major reason is the very fact that asteroids were formed along or in the same time that your planets were formed. Now, to understand how Earth is formed and how how life started being formed on the Earth, to understand all of these things, when you go and study your asteroids, you might get some evidence over there. So, to explore and understand the foundation and origin of solar system, to understand the origin of life, even right now, if I'm asking you guys, how 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 did life happen on Earth? We have very distorted ideas. Some of us use religion to explain it, some of us use philosophy to explain it, but nobody has correct understanding about how life started. You would have had chemicals all coming. How did the actual life in each of us actually take origin? That we do not know. So maybe going and studying these things will give us some information about it. Building blocks of life, for example, the materials that you're bringing from these asteroids will contain any kind of proteins or something, and you will be able to understand if there is some kind of life over there also. Understand, not only if life is here on those different kind of bodies which are there, if there is any kind of life, any organisms which are there, that you will understand. And you will also understand if any see, one thing that we consider very precious to us is the fact that Earth has a very proper atmosphere, and we have water, and we have life. Every other time we go and do research, we try to see if any of these things are there in any of these places. So to even understand if there is water, to study all these things, is where we have sent Hayabusa 2 on to Ryugu. Now I just want to add this extra information which I said you will have to note down for your prelims. This is not the first time that something has been sent to an asteroid. You have another mission called as Osiris Rex, which happens to be a previous year UPSC question. Osiris Rex by NASA, which has gone on to the asteroid Bennu. Please note it down, guys. Note it down, put it into your current affairs which are there. So you can say the Osiris Rex, which went into Bennu, was also in such a mission to study life. Now coming on to at this point, what all have they found from this mission which is there? They have clearly found out that when it comes to this Hayabusa 2, they were able to find traces of components that are similar to water. This is very important. Components that are similar to water. They were also able to find some protein-like components which they feel. So they collected these samples, and they feel that from these you could see the sample. When they did the analysis, they are able to find something very similar to protein. So now their question is, this protein can be an indicator of some kind of past interaction that this asteroid has had with any of these. Maybe it has gone and hit somewhere, that is how it has got something over there, but we do not know. So they are still looking into each of these things. So now coming into all of these factors, when it comes to this Hayabusa 2 on to Ryugu, it has been fairly successful because it's able to find some evidence of amino acids, which are the basic building blocks of protein, and they were able to find something very similar to water components. Is this topic clear to all of you? Yes. Now coming into this, before I go into this, see, even if you look at the Indian subcontinent, which is there, we've had asteroids coming and falling onto Indian subcontinent. Okay, one such very famous place is this thing. It's called as the Ramgarh crater. So when an asteroid comes and falls, it creates like this depression kind of a scenario, and it's like a crater which is there. So it has come and fallen, and this is a place that you see in Rajasthan where you have this Ramgarh crater. Does anybody else know any other craters? There's some bonus points if you say an answer correct to this. Lonar Cater, Anukriti has said it. Kumar, Anukriti, Mohit. Oh, a lot of you. Okay, I clearly underestimated you guys. A lot of you have mentioned in the case of the fact that a lot of you have said Lonar Crater, which is there, is also another place where asteroid has come. Don't ask me which asteroid has come and fallen, because nobody knows what asteroid has come and fallen. We are talking about things that have formed almost 4.6 billion years ago. Okay, so this is some of the information over there. Now coming on to the question which is there. Somebody has asked me, will Ryugu come and hit the earth? Now, we have another set of space missions related to how, if any asteroid is coming and coming to fall on the earth, how can we prevent it? How can we deflect it? There are so many missions going on for that. That is a topic for another day maybe. It's called as asteroid deflection techniques which are there. You have your European Space Agency and NASA and all working very extensively on it. So we will, in the course of time, we will discuss it on some other class too. Okay. Now coming on to this question which is there, with reference to Hayabusa 2 mission recently in the news, consider the following statements. Hayabusa 2 is a spacecraft which was sent on a 6-year voyage to survey the asteroid Ryugu. It aims to explore the origin and evolution of the solar system and its planets. It is a joint mission of ISRO and NASA of United States. I think it's a very simple question. Okay, so I'm going to start the poll at this point. Guys can take your time and mark your answer. And yes, you can start marking your answers. Voyage means journey. Okay. No. Sakib, this is not a wishing star. That is something called as meteorite. It's different. Okay. It's different. You are all talking. There's meteorite. There is comet. I believe comet is what is called as a wishing star. I believe. I'm not very sure about that. But you guys are talking about the comet and all, which has a tail. Okay. That is a tail of gas which is there. Asteroid is just plain rock. No beautiful tail or color or anything. It's just plain rock which is there. Yes, let's see. 70% of you have marked the right answer. Again, what happened, guys? What is the mistake that you, or what happened with that last statement which is there? What is the last statement saying? It is a joint mission of ISRO and NASA. Is it? No, it is of JAXA, Japanese Space Agency. From the term itself, Hayabusa 2, you could have guessed it, right? So third statement is wrong. Third statement is wrong. Only the first and second statements are correct. The answer to this question is 1A. Okay, 1 and 2 only. Now, this is not a mains oriented topic. This is a purely prelims oriented topic. So, there is no separate mains question regarding it. Okay, now coming into the flag code of India. Yeah, I remember the leaderboard. Don't worry. I think I told you I'll show it in the third question, right? So next time I will first look into your request and then only I'll put it over there. Don't worry. The flag code of India. Okay. What is happening with the flag code, guys? Okay. First of all, let's put it into perspective. What happened is, in India, we have something called as the flag code. This was formed in, or it was finalized properly in the form as we see today in the year 2002. This basically gives an idea about how we should treat the national flag which is there, how we should manufacture it, how we should hoist it, how we should treat it with respect. Every other conditions are given in a proper manner in the flag code. Now, very recently, in the coming times of, before the previous Independence Day, which was there, what started happening is that the government has allowed or made an amendment into the flag code of India. And this is the reason why this was being in news. So the first thing you have to notice over here is, what is the flag code? A flag code is basically an attempt to bring all the law, tradition and practices regarding the proper display of the flag. You would have heard, no, when we are in school and all, you would have heard people say that you cannot, just carrying the flag and walking, you should not put the flag on the ground, you should not upturn the flag and keep, you cannot put it in the reverse manner. Then if you reverse even the, for example, there is the saffron color, there's white and there is green, even if you reverse it, that is considered as a very wrong thing, it's considered as illegal. All of these things are taught to us, right? So all of these things are put together. Earlier it was in separate laws. In 2002, they put it together as the flag code. Okay, so now in the flag code, a description of the tricolor in general is given. What is a description? Like, okay, there will be so much so of saffron, there will be so much so of white, and there will be the chakra in middle, and then you will have the green. So all these things will be mentioned. The rules for flag display by public, private and educational organizations. How should the flag be displayed? All those rules will be given. And on the governments and government entities, how should they be displayed? So you must see, have seen, no, if someone very important dies, how should the flag be tied? If can you always tie the flag down if someone dies? So all these things are put into the flag code. What is the current issue? According to the Flag Code of India, 2002, it was permitted that only flags made from hand spun means you handmade or woven wool or cotton or silk khadi bunting. Bunting is a type of, you must have seen, no? See, for example, our clothes which are there, it's not made in such a manner, or when you look at the weave of it, weave means how it is actually made, you will see that the different fabric, it is very tightly packed if you look at your cloth. But in the case of flag, they have mentioned you can use handmade or woven. It can be wool, cotton, silk or khadi, and in any of these cases it should be in a very light manner. Bunting means a very loose kind of clothing. For example, if you've seen a shawl or something that somebody uses, you would have seen it's a very soft kind of clothing. This is the kind of thing that the flag code mentions. You can make the flag only with these materials. Now, based on this also, what they did, they import, for example, any kind of machine-made flags which were there, they banned the import of it in 2019, which means the idea was you can have only handmade flags made from these many materials. What happened very recently is this ban got lifted, which means you can import all your machine-made flags from outside. Next thing is they amended the flag code and said now you can make flags from machine-made cotton, polyester, wool, silk, khadi, bunting. Which means what? What have they diluted over here? What has happened is earlier it could only be handmade and you cannot have any kind of machine made things. Right now it can be machine made, and they even diversified the material. They made polyester. What is polyester? From what component are we getting polyester? We all use polyester cloths, but then from where do we get it? Plastic. This is basically derived from plastic. So now comes the issue regarding it. What is the issue with this amendment? Think about it. Think as citizens of India, look at it. When this amendment is there, the first thing is it is sidelining khadi. The very reason it was put into the flag code that it should be hand woven and everything is because in the entire freedom struggle of ours and everything, khadi and people who were making cloths in khadi had so much of a prominence. Even today, there are so many cottage industries which work on this. So they have basically sidelined khadi, which is one issue. Next thing is, you are ready to, or you are getting all these imports from outside. Now there is no ban. So who do you think is going to import all this from? Or where do we think we are going to import it from? You have very cheap Chinese imports coming in, ready to make all these machine made flags which are there. So again, this has two things. It actually affects on one level, it is actually something that is very detrimental to our economy. We were already doing fine when it came to the hand woven khadi and everything. Now you are actually giving through our flag, you are getting this Chinese imports also. It also affects the morale of the people who were there in the traditional flag making business. Okay, so in all these cases, it increases Chinese imports. It's bad for the economy in that sense. It affects indigenous manufacturers. For example, in states like Karnataka and Maharashtra, you have specific areas of cottage industries which are focused on this specific thing, like to make khadi flags, to make khadi silk flags, and etc. So for them, this is actually leading to a livelihood loss. Next thing, the Gandhian idols. The Gandhian idols of making the things of our own, the entire idea that we today promote as make in India kind of a thing, this is all getting diluted. And finally, the environmental issue. As I said, when you allow it to be made in polyester, what happens is it is a component of plastic. This again, it is not, once you are using this and everything, this plastic is not getting degraded. So again, there are environment issues over here. The thing that they say from their point, from the government's point of view, they have mentioned that there is a practical difficulty in using materials like cotton and khadi and everything. Why? Because years, how many of you know about the flag, the post that happens at the Wagah border? Every time at the Wagah border, there is this hoisting of flag that happens. Okay, every time, most of the time it is conducted like a, yes, so some of you even seen it. So what happens is, in these cases and all, when you want to hoist your flag at a very high, very much height, if you're using cotton products, it does not put, or the flag does not get hoisted in a proper manner. Hoisted means when you're putting it, you want to see the flag flowing in a proper manner. What they're saying is polyester is a much more better product, so that it is much more, it stays for a longer period of time. It does not get damaged. But on the other hand, cotton, khadi, wool, these products get damaged, and that is somewhat even more like an insult. Why? Because the flag is getting torn or the flag is getting damaged. It is very bad, like a very bad symbol for the country. So they have said that no, let's go about with these kind of materials. So I'm seeing some questions over here. See, the Chinese import angle is, now they've said you can have the ban on the machine made flag is taken away. And we are a lot, because China is one country, wherever there is a market economy, they try to capture it. China is one place where there's so much of polyester production happening. When you are allowing polyester and machine made imports to come to India, what is going to happen? Polyester is already there, but then polyester flag to come to India, they are the ones who have sent a lot of flags imported, or we have imported a lot of flags from them this time. So they're saying the scope of these Chinese imports is also bad for us, because we could have done this, or we could have had these industries in our own country, and we need to work on it. Is that point clear now? Yes. Now coming into some prelims pointers, and I want you guys to note this specifically under the heading of government policy schemes and everything which are there. Look at it. What all are the important pointers? Because flag has been in news for quite so many reasons, the Har Ghar Tiranga that was there, this flag code thing which was there. So you will see that some question can be asked. Now the common idea as to who designed the flag is very disputed. Why? Because our flag as we see right now is attributed to what you say, you have certain people that over the time who have said, who modeled the flag. So I'll just mention the names which are there. You have people like Madam Kama who have put the flag in foreign countries. You have the people who have, like for example, Ani Besant, Lokmanya Tilak. All of them have also have had a role to play in the design of the flag. Then you have Pingali Venkaiah, who have also contributed to the design of the flag. So to say that, okay, the flag that we see today is designed by one of the persons is quite disputed. So that is one area that UPSC might not ask you as a singular question. Okay, but the area which they can ask you the question is, the tricolor was adopted as our national flag at the Congress Committee meeting in Karachi in 1931. When you study your modern India, you will understand that this meeting of Congress, which happened in 1931, has some other significance also. At this point, remember, we adopted this in the Karachi session of 1931. This is a prelims pointer, the first one. The second prelims pointer is, every specification related to the flag is actually checked, or any flag that is being made, it's quality checked by Bureau of Indian Standards. This is why they say, if you're seeing a flag which is of wrong proportions, it is likely that it is done in a very illegal manner. Someone would have just cut out papers and made it, because ideally the standardization of all the flags made in India are given by the Bureau of Indian Standards. Next thing, apart from the flag code, which is of 2002, you have these three things, which is the Emblems and Names Prevention and Improper Use Act 1950, Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act 1971, and the Article 51A of Indian Constitution, which basically protects the national flag. Now, what is this Article 51A? Can anyone tell me what does this Article 51A belong to? Which category will it belong to? Fundamental duties. Who has said it first? Let's see. Mohit, Shubhanjali. Some of you are saying fundamental rights. How come, guys? 51A is what category? Fundamental duty. See, even if you don't know 51A, think about it. Don't you think the idea to protect the national flag and national symbol, it will be listed under fundamental duty and not fundamental right? Understand? Hope that is clear. Yes. Not only the national flag which is there, I'll tell you, national symbol, national emblem, all of these things have to be respected as mentioned in that fundamental duty. Is this topic clear to all of you? Yes. Okay. Now coming on to the question. Read the question properly and mark. Please don't do careless mistakes. Every time you guys do careless mistakes, I'm like, why it's so simple, why are you making careless mistakes? Which one of the following does not have any bearing on the national flag of India? Fundamental rights under Indian Constitution, fundamental duties under Indian Constitution, Emblems and Names Prevention and Improper Use Act 1950, Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act of 1971. Think about it. Mark the correct answer which is there. Let me just launch the poll. And yes. Read the question properly. Which one does not have any bearing? Bearing means relation. Sure. Ilakia has reminded me over here. Leaderboard this time, please. Sure. Okay. Promise to you. Do it. Yes. Finally, after Long time. Okay, let me first do the leaderboard, then I'll tell you everything. Show the leaderboard. Now I understood why Ilakia wanted to see the leaderboard. Ilakia's name is second over there. That is why. Okay. So you see all the names. I'm not reading any other names, guys. I don't want to want you to be like, okay, she didn't read my name. She read the other person's name. Nothing like that. Can you all see all your names? Okay. Well done, guys. If you've done so far all the kind. Now the last question is the suspense question. If you'll maintain a 50 or not. Now coming over here. The next topic. Oh no, 1 minute. We just have to discuss this first. Here, when it comes to this, I told you the National Honor Act, the emblems and names prevention, that is also there. Fundamental duties is also there. Fundamental rights does not say anything about the national flag. Fundamental rights means what? Like, okay, we have a right to hoist the national flag. There's nothing like that mentioned. Okay, so anything related to that is given in the duty, and the duty is that we have to protect the national flag which is there. Okay, so now under all this, if this is clear, now final topic of the day, shortage of HIV drugs. Okay, this is a serious problem. Why so? Now coming into the context of this, very recently, people living with HIV networks has witnessed an acute shortage of certain antiretroviral drugs such as dolutegravir. Now, again, let me tell you this. In this topic, you are going to come across certain terms. I don't want anyone to learn these terms by heart. Just look at the term, put it into your note. Just be familiar with it. What has happened in the country is, in several parts you have there are groups called as people living with HIV. Okay, so people living with HIV, they consolidate themselves into certain areas which are there, and what happens is, they, for example, whatever treatments that they need, they try to get it all together. They have some kind of a community like feeling amongst themselves. Now several people living with HIV networks have seen that there is a shortage of drugs in the country. Now, first thing you have to understand, what is HIV and what are its drugs. First thing, HIV is a kind of virus. It's a human immunodeficiency virus. It is a lentivirus. Now, last weekly current affairs, I told you about Henipa virus. Okay, it's a family of virus. Here I am telling you about lentivirus. What is lentivirus? It is a type of virus that it will enter into our body, and for a very long time, you will not even know that virus is there. When I'm saying long time, it's not 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You will not know it for almost 8 to 10 years that virus is there in your body. The virus will remain, it will keep on replicating, and one final day you will start feeling very terribly sick, and then only it will be detected that this virus is there in the body. This is the type of virus that this HIV is. This is why people who are affected by HIV don't even know that they are carrying the virus within them. They move on, they carry their normal life. At one point, they start falling sick, and that is when they start doing the test and they detect that they have been exposed to this. So, human immunodeficiency virus is a lentivirus that causes the HIV infection. Over the time, what happens is, this infection leads to this disease called as AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. What is this immunodeficiency syndrome? Means that this disease and this virus affects the immune system in the body, which means what? Normally you hear vitamin deficiency, which means you don't have proper vitamin. You have calcium deficiency, you don't have enough calcium. Immunodeficiency, your immune system is not working properly. So this is an acquired immunodeficiency. Acquired means what? You're not born like that, you are getting it because this virus has affected you. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, this is what AIDS is. Okay, now what the HIV virus does is, the HIV enters into the body. Why is it affecting the immune system? You have specific category of cells called as WBC, which is your white blood cells, and your T helper cells. Who are the T helper cells? Sounds like a very interesting name, no? Now, I'm sure these topics, at least some part of it, will be discussed in your science and technology classes which are there. But then I want you to understand some basic understanding about these things. T helper cells means, see, I have told you some in some of the previous classes and all which are there. When your body is affected by some disease, after a point, if you look at it, for example, chicken pox. How many of you have got chicken pox when you were small? Yeah. Now, this disease, what happens is, so what happens is you get chicken pox once. People say, oh, you've got it once, then you will not catch it again. What is the logic? Is it some superstition? No. What happens is, if you get chicken pox once, your body has fought against that disease and survived, which means you have certain cells in your body that carry them. It's called actually having cell memory. You might find it very interesting like that. It's called cell memory, meaning these cells will know that, okay, next time the body is getting exposed to chickenpox virus, this cells will remember, ah, yes, we've had chickenpox before, we have the enough weapons to fight against it, and they actually give out the weapons. These cells which remember or have this kind of a cell memory are your T helper cells. So when the T helper, why is it called helper cells? So they are the ones which will be like, the WBC is there to sit and fight. Okay, so T helper cell will come and say, see, this is chicken pox, okay, you fight. So they come and give the information about this, and then the WBC fights. Now what happens when HIV enters the body is, they attack both of them. They attack both the T helper cell and the WBC, which means what? If earlier you have had immunity against a lot of disease, and the T helper cell was the one that was going and saying, ah, this is corona, okay, this is chicken pox, okay. Now the T helper cell is not there, which means what? At this point, when you are having AIDS and you are getting exposed to chicken pox, you might have had chicken pox earlier, but now you will again get that disease, which means what? Not only chicken pox, any other disease out there will easily affect your body. And this is the most dangerous reason. Most of the people who are affected by AIDS, they die not of AIDS alone, but because of all these other diseases that they catch in the time. Understand? So here it leads to the weak immune system, and this virus is normally transmitted by bodily fluids. What are bodily fluids? For example, everything, your blood, you have your what you say, any genital this thing, secretions which are there, vaginal fluid which is there, any kind of thing which is there, which is a bodily fluid which comes from within the body, is able to transmit the virus from one person to another. Understand? So this is the case of HIV. Now comes into the treatment of HIV. Can HIV be cured at this point? At this point in the world, can AIDS be cured completely? There is so much of research happening over it. There is very heartwarming news that comes about that there are cases where it is getting cured. But until recently, what is happening is, you cannot cure AIDS completely. What you can just do is, so this person is affected by this virus. Okay. Using certain drugs, this virus is going on replicating in your body. What is happening? This virus has already gotten into your body. Using your own body fluids and body's and nutrition and everything, it's going on replicating which is there. So what these drugs do, your AIDS drugs do is, they will not go and kill the virus. There has not been a drug that is being found that can go and kill that virus completely. What it goes and does is, it will try to stop that virus from replicating in a very fast manner. So what happens is, if earlier this virus could replicate and become like 10, 20 in a very fast time, when you are having that drug, maybe what happens is, this virus is able to make only 2 of it. replicate into 2. That's it. So it is basically trying to suppress the replication of the virus. What is replication? The fact that the virus can be created again and again and again. Okay, so this treatment method is called as antiretroviral therapy. Okay, they are trying to reduce the viral load. What is viral load? The amount of HIV virus that occurs in a person's body. They're trying to reduce it. How are they trying to reduce it? Not by killing the virus, but by just ensuring that it does not reproduce in a very faster manner. And this is why the standard treatment of HIV is not one single drug which is there, because you're trying to somehow stop the reproduction of a virus. So you have a combination of different drugs. It's a combination of minimum 3 drugs that suppress the HIV replication, and this technique is called as ART, antiretroviral therapy. Now are you getting the point as to how important these drugs would be? Which means a person who is affected by AIDS and who is in this treatment procedure, if somehow the drug that is there in this therapy, which is they are not getting it in a proper manner, it will increase the replication of the virus in their body. And before long, whatever good thing has happened in the past as to reduce the virus population which is there, all that will be undone, because virus will replicate in a matter of seconds, right? So they are now suppressed by these drugs, but if these drugs don't reach into the body, what happens? They will freely replicate. And that is why this issue becomes so crucial. Is this clear to all of you until here? Yes, perfect. Now coming to over here, what are some of the common drugs used? This is where I'm telling you, you don't have to study any of these names by heart. The reason why I put these names into this PPT is because I want you to look at these terms and be familiar with the fact. Sometimes they will just ask you Abasavir, Tenofovir, Maraviroc. They will just put these terms and they'll ask, what is this? They will, and the option will be HIV drugs, types of plastic, environmental treaty. They'll give some random options over there. So you should at least know these are all medicines. These are not medicines. These are all drugs that are used in the HIV treatment. Can you just look through all the terms which are there? Abasavir. You don't even have to learn all these terms. Just write it down in your notes, or just look at these terms which are there. Efavirenz, Etravirine, Nevirapine. This is one of the drug which is having a huge shortage right now. Raltegravir, Enfutivirid, all these terms. Don't study, please don't study these things by heart, okay? Again and again I'm telling you this. Now coming into why is there a shortage of drugs? I've told you this is so important. Why? Because see, a person who is having in the first place, someone who started the treatment with all these drugs, if they don't get the drug, the first thing that happens is their treatment will be off track. Okay, then they have to start this entire treatment regimen from the beginning itself. That is the first problem. And these drugs are quite expensive. Okay, so what happens is when they have to treat the entire regimen from the beginning, that is additional money from their side. So because of all these things, you have to ensure that these whoever is affected by the disease gets the drugs on the right time. And here is where the problem is. In most of the cases in India, the procurement of the drug for HIV patients is done by NACO, National AIDS Control Organization. Okay, what NACO does is, NACO is the one that has to see in which all areas, which all clinics they have to get the drugs. They have to be the ones procuring it, and they are the ones who get it over. But it so happens the body which has to, and this is also a government body which is there. This is basically a body that comes under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare which is there. The chief officers of NACO who have to do this procurement process, These posts are now lying vacant. There are no officers to do this. First thing. Second thing, there is a huge bureaucratic chain that goes about. Even if the officer is there and the procurement, they're saying like, okay, procure means what? Get the drugs. The drugs have to be bought from the pharmaceutical companies, right? And then given to these people. So even to get it from the pharmaceutical companies, there is so much of discussions that happen every other time. They don't have a fixed contract. What happens is every other time NACO will go and be like, okay, we need so much drugs. What money, in what money can we negotiate? So what happens is, in the first place, there is no officers at doing the procurement at this point. Second thing is, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved in it. Bureaucracy means one file will move over there, second file will take that much time. By the time the drug reaches over here, the patient's health will have been lost. Okay, so because of all this is where you see NACO has been having procurement problems. They have something called as a pooled procurement mechanism. What NACO does is, NACO will get in touch with several pharmaceutical companies. It will get each of the drug from different places. After collecting all the drug together, then is where NACO tries distributing it to the people concerned. Okay, or to the people who need the drug in a proper manner. But here what has happened, this entire pooling mechanism has failed because there is no officers to take care, there is bureaucratic hurdles, and on top of it, look at all the process that goes involved in it. From each person, NACO has to, or each person or each company, NACO should have a separate contract, separate discussion, and then only they pool all the drugs together and distribute it. So this mechanism is an utter failure, and because of this only, you are not having proper drugs reaching out to the HIV patients. You will see the common drugs which are having a shortage right now are your dolutegravir, lopinavir, and abacavir, which are there. Even if they don't ask any of the other drugs, they could ask this as a UPSC question. Don't you think this is actually a very grave scenario? Because you are trying to, how many of you think this is actually a very grave scenario? NACO is National AIDS Control Organization. Yes, this is an issue because, see, when the HIV patient is taking the drug, what is actually happening is he might be even exposed to all these things which are there, but his quality of life improves a little bit. He will not be constantly, or whatever his immune system is getting affected, that is getting affected, but the fact is that this virus is not going on getting. So what happens, maybe the person who can live up to maybe 10 years, that kind of a lifespan is still maintained. On top of it, over the course of time, if you're continuously using the drug, what happens is, it comes to a point where the virus will be in a very weakened position. It will not be able to replicate, even like maybe one virus will give rise to another virus. That's it, not more than that. So what happens, when you take the drug for a long period of time, you can even hope for the condition where you will come back to life in a proper manner. But again, when things like this happen, their entire quality of life is reversed. Most of the time, what happens is, even in this NACO case, what they do is, National AIDS Control Organization gets all the drugs together. They send it out to the state hospitals which can distribute the drugs. The HIV patients approach the state hospital and then get their treatment done. What happens when there is drug shortages, there is, each time they have to come to this hospital, they will see that the drug is not there, they will go back. What happens is, they are also getting exposed to a lot of these other diseases, which means in this course of time, their quality of life will be reduced and they will be exposed to much more severe infections which are there. And because of all this itself, this is a serious issue. And from the prelims point of view, if you look at it, there are some pointers which you have to keep in mind. You have something called as the 90-90-90 target. This is related to your AIDS control. What is this 90-90-90 target? The idea basically, this is given by WHO, which is there. It says that at least 90% of the people living with HIV should be aware. Most of the time, people are not even aware that they are having AIDS. 90% of the people who have HIV should be made aware that they have the disease. 90% of them should be, after that, whatever is the number that they are getting, 90% of them should be able to afford the treatment that is there, and at least 90% of the HIV patients that are treated should be able to be in a position to have better quality of life. This is your 90-90-90 target. The question can be singularly asked on this 90-90-90 target. You can also ask a question on Mission Sampark. Mission Sampark is a mission by the Indian government which is there, which tries to ensure that people who are affected by HIV or HIV virus, this ART treatment reaches to each of them and it is given to them in a proper manner. So Mission Sampark 90-90-90 target. The three states with the highest adult HIV prevalence are Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur. Again, they can confuse you with any of the other states and give. So I have said, I do not know how many of you have noticed this, for the topics which are having a prelims orientation, what I have done is, when I ask you guys to go and check out for extra information, you might not do it. So what I have done is, I have put it as prelims pointers so that you can also have a very easy revision when it comes to this. Is this topic clear to all of you? This was the final topic. Is this clear to all of you? Yes, yes, yes. So that is all clear. Now coming over here, when it comes to the final question which is there, consider the following statements regarding HIV, which was recently in the news. Human immunodeficiency virus is a lentivirus which over a period of time leads to AIDS. HIV demolishes a particular type of WBC and the T helper cells. ART, antiretroviral therapy, has been found to be effective in minimizing risk of transmission of HIV from infected people to others. This is the question. Let me launch the poll. I think it's a simple question, but if you're not careful, yes, you will make mistakes. Yes, you can start marking your answers. 90-90-90 means, Freddie has asked, I think Freddie and some of you have asked again, Sony has also asked, 90 means 90% of the total people living in the world who might have, they, not 90% of the total people in the world, 90% of the people who have HIV should be able to detect it. 90% of them should be able to get the ART treatment which is there, and 90% of them should be using this treatment, and after this treatment they should have a better quality of life. This is the 90-90-90 target. It's given by WHO, not an Indian government thing. It's a WHO thing. Mission Sampark is the Indian government thing. Okay. Sampark again means that, see, in India, a lot of people who are affected. Oh, sorry guys, leaderboard. And 61% of you have marked the right answer. So, are you all happy with your performance? Let me just look at all the names. Yeah. See, again, you are, if your name has featured, good. If your name has not featured also, this is nothing to be tensed about. Why? This is a small test. Okay. So what you can do is, next time you don't make careless mistakes, understand the topic in a clear manner, and in the prelims exam which is there, you ensure that you do well. Okay. So is this clear? Don't be demotivated if your name is not there. Okay. This is what I'm trying to say. Now, how come some of you got wrong over here? First of all, human immunodeficiency virus is a lentivirus which over a period of time leads to AIDS. This is correct. HIV demolishes a particular type of WBC and the T helper cells. This is also correct. ART has been found to be effective in minimizing risk of transmission of HIV from infected people to others. How so? See, oh, this is where you guys got confused. If you're having less amount of virus in your body, the risk of you transmitting it to another person is also reduced, right? It's not like, see, for example, if my entire body is having a higher viral load, be it in my blood or whatever bodily fluids, my saliva, everything, you will see that viral load in a very good manner or very high manner. But then if the viral load is reduced, you will not see so much of it coming or transmitting to another person, right? Because in all around my body, I do not have that viral load in a very prominent manner. This is why that third statement also happens to be correct. So all 1, 2, 3 happen to be correct over here. Now coming into, so we've ended the session. We've gone through all the topics which are there. Now I am open for questions over here. Now I see a lot of you asking this question, and I think I should be addressing this. The thing is, why the northeastern states are having a higher load or higher viral infection? I'll tell you this. The one of the major reasons what has happened is, in India, when initially HIV started showing up, you had all the states having a major amount, be it any of, take it Kerala or Madhya Pradesh, you had all these states at the very high risk of it. But what started happening is, in these states, the be it the individual state governments or the central government, they took it into a very serious aspect, and they started taking all these art related or antiretroviral therapy measures which are there. Which means what? Over the time, you will see that here the transmission has been reduced. So if I'm transmitting from one person to another, only this disease is going to keep on spreading, right? But one area which was clearly neglected in certain of the government policies was the northeastern area. This is why you see, even in some cases, I told you about these communities called as people living with HIV, right? You do not even have proper state hospitals which transfer these drugs to people living with HIV over there. So it is due to the continual neglect to the northeastern states that you see a higher prevalence of the disease over there, because the spread of the disease has not been curtailed in a proper manner. Is that clear to all of you? And very, very good, what you say, observation over here. All those who asked that question, good marks for that, asking that question which is there. Next thing, Swapnil has asked, is orderly post legally there in state police recruitment list? No, it is not there. It is not legally mentioned over there. Most of the time, what happens is, when a new recruitee is there, they send them to become an orderly, saying that, you learn how the work is done. So it is not a legal post which is there. They have been sent to these roles which are there. So you will not see orderly and there's a basic pay scale for that. That is not separately given. They all are recruited to be constables, police officers as it is. Is that clear, Swapnil? Chetna has asked, you can send your answers to targetias at byju's.com, Chetna. Next thing is, Jasleen and some of you have asked about the pooled procurement mechanism. See, pooled procurement mechanism will happen. For example, I am planning to get, for example, there are 5, 6 different companies. Okay. I have to pool the drugs from each of these companies. Like, for example, one of them are giving me this, drug number A. The other person is drug number B. Now, what happens is, only once I pool all these drugs will I send it to the state government. See, ideally, if one drug is coming, I can do one thing. I got that one drug. I can send it to the state government. At least for that drug, that shortage will not be there. But here, NACO has made it a practice. They will pool it all together, and once they have received it all together, then only they will start distributing to everyone. So what happens in the first place, NACO is not doing its procurement in a proper manner. There is no officer to do it in a proper manner. There's a lot of bureaucratic struggles, and they also have this condition whereby which they will pool all of this, then only they will send it. So maybe for 3 drugs there is a shortage. For the other drug, the drug must be there, but they are not even sending that to the state hospitals which are there. Understand? No, no. Aditya, no. That is not the idea. Asteroids coming into Earth is not called as a meteor or meteorite. You have a separate structure. You have certain bodies which are not as big as your asteroids. Okay, they are called as, when you study in geography, you will study, they are called as meteors. Okay, so when a meteor is there and it falls into the Earth, that when it crosses the atmosphere and comes, what happens is that meteor is already a little bit comparatively smaller body. On top of it, when it crosses to the Earth's atmosphere, what happens? Because of all the friction in the Earth's atmosphere, it will burn off. When it burns off, only small bits and pieces will come and fall, and those bits and pieces are, when it falls onto the Earth, is called as your meteorite, which is there, or your small pieces which are there. This is not related to your what you say, the asteroid which is there. Okay, asteroid are rocks which are orbiting. If it comes and falls, there will be huge crater, there will be mass distinction. In fact, I do not know how many of you have heard this about the extinction of dinosaurs on Earth. There is even an asteroid impact theory which is there, that the asteroid came and hit the Earth, and that is how the dinosaurs got extinct. So this is the kind of impact an asteroid will create, but the meteor will not create such a huge kind of an impact. Okay, Aditya? Mm. Yes, Manushi, you can call it as a modern day slavery. This is already mentioned in the ARC report which is there. How the corruption happens in the orderly system. Okay, now coming into the corruption in the orderly system, what happens is, in some states, what happens is, because they want to get rid of the orderly system, they will tell to the officer that, see, you don't keep an orderly, we'll do one thing, we'll give you a state allowance. Okay, so for example, they're giving me 5,000 rupees. I am an officer, they're giving me 5,000 rupees, and with this 5,000 rupees, I can get any other normalcy. You have a lot of people who do your household work and everything, right? You will have housemates, house helps. So you can get any of these people, pay them that 5,000 rupees, and you can actually do all these functions which whatever the orderly does, like, washing your clothes, cutting vegetables, all this, these house help can do. But I will pay them that money. But what some officers do is, they will collect that money from the government, but they will not put a house help. They will keep that money for themselves. Instead, they will again call the orderly and make them do the work. Which means what? That state allowance which is being given to them, they are only pocketing it. This is the kind of corruption that happens in the orderly system. Is that clear? Arpita, see, it is okay. When it comes to the, okay, let me just tell you this. This is something that I used to do when I was a student long before. Okay, so at that point, when a teacher is taking class, and especially because this is an online medium, it might be difficult for you to capture it then and there. What I used to do is that most of the time, for example, today's class, those prelims pointers which were told, that I will try to jot down then and there itself, because those are just small pointers. But the main topic, for example, the digital lending thing which was there, that's a main topic which is there. So for those kind of topics and that orderly thing, what I'll do is, after the class, I will spend, like, maybe I used to spend almost 15 to 20 minutes. What I would do is, I'll go through not the, for example, if any slide is given, that is what I'll go through, and any pointers mentioned over there, I will just jot it down in one page. This is what you can do. Just deal it in a separate manner. For prelims oriented topics, you try jotting down those just pointers during the class, so that that will not become a burden to you. The mains oriented topic, you spend some time after the class. Does this make sense to you? Do you think this is a possible thing, Arpita? Arpita, I'm not seeing your response. Is that clear? Okay, somebody has asked in middle, what is the ombudsman? Oh yeah. See, I think Kajal, I don't know the name, but then somebody has asked the ombudsman which is there. Ombudsman basically means, like, see, okay, now I am the, for example, I am the principal of a school. Hmm? If I am the principal of a school and I am putting some rules over there, okay, I'm saying the teachers should behave in this manner, and the students should also behave in this manner. Now, basically, the teacher's behavior who should be taking care of? I, as a principal, should be taking care of it, right? Now, when I'm saying if the teacher is doing this, you can complain. If the student is doing this, the teacher can complain. Now, if I am a student, I will be thinking, no, hey, this teacher has to be managed by the principal. So if I'm going and complaining something about the teacher to the principal will be like, no, 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 the teacher can never be wrong. You are the one who is wrong. I will feel a bit biased, no? Or I will feel like the principal is biased. Okay. Now, similar to that, in the case of RBI, what happens is you have an RBI, you will have some other banks that the RBI is already actually has to control, and then you have the consumers and everyone. So now if I am having a complaint against a digital lending platform or a bank or anything, if I am going to RBI and I will have that doubt in my mind, I'm going to RBI, I'm complaining, but will the RBI do anything? That will be there, right? So now to avoid that, RBI has put a body out there called as ombudsman. Now in the case of the school, what the principal will do? The principal will be like, okay, fine, you don't come and complain to me. You go and complain to this body, which has teachers, parents, student representatives, and even members of the community over there. Which means what? It will be a very neutral body, right? So if I am having any complaint, I can go and complain to that neutral body which is there. Similarly, in the case of RBI, so this ombudsman is a neutral body to which I can go and place my complaints without the feeling of any bias. Is that clear to all of you? Yes, yes, yes. So I hope those who had that, yes, clear, clear, clear. Yeah, Swapnil, the thing is that this question is very, I saw some of you also asking, like, okay, if the orderly system is not valid, can someone who's being there, like who's suffering this kind of an inhuman treatment, can they not do anything against it? Let me just ask you a question. This person who's being put into an orderly post would most of the time would be just starting off his career in this entire post which is there. We are not talking about IAS officers or IPS officers or anything. We are talking about constables who are getting posted in very very remote areas, constables who are getting, if anything goes wrong, it's these constables who are getting dismissed or suspended from the service. Their working conditions are extremely bad. So do you think they who've just started off will actually go forward and complain against their superior in any of these cases? This is what happens in most of the time. That I was telling in the class, no, initially they did a survey in Madras, I mean in Chennai, about all these orderlies which are there. It was mentioned in the survey, people were very reluctant to talk about their superiors because they felt that if they say something even for the survey, they might be punished for that. They might be thrown into some place where it will be very bad conditions. They might be even into very unsafe conditions. So they don't want to get the wrath of the people higher than them. This is why in most of the cases there's no active complaints being made, because you will be clearly, the way the police system is, it's quite hierarchical, right? Hierarchical means that if you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, you do not exert much power when it comes to the decision making. So this is one of the reasons why they do not go actively and complain. Does this make sense to you, Swapnil? Was your doubt, and those who had the same kind of doubt, is that clear to all of you? HIV was initially found to come from, for the initial discovery of it was seen from even the monkeys. But then if you look at the monkeys also, you are not sure as to how did the monkeys get that. So again, it's the origin of it, you can say, is from the animals itself, and from the animals it came to the humans. Mm, yes. So I think, oh, we've this is one thing. When I start seeing your questions, I lose track of time because I want to engage with each of your questions. I want to answer each of these questions. And trust me, this is like a entire river of questions which are over here. Uh, Sashwati has asked, Sashwati, the first topics, two topics that we discussed are important from a mains point of view also. The last three topics we discussed are more from a prelims point of view. The flag code, I would say, could come even from the, not flag code, the HIV deficiency which is there, that could come from a prelims and a mains point of view. Okay? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I think most of your major doubts have been cleared. I know you will have small doubts which are there also, but then I hope in the course of the preparation and even in the recorded webinar which is there, which you might sit and see after this, your doubts, anything that I've mentioned, the class and all will be clear to you. So if you've not understood full-fledged concepts, I hope I have been able to clear it out for you. And once again, thank you for being such a patient lot. I hope the class was very informative for each of you and you had some takeaways. You were able to form your opinions about some things over here. And then if that is the case, my job here is done. I hope you all had a good time attending this class. Until I see you guys again, take care, have a good night, and happy learning.